History is not what we learned in school. Behind the glossy textbooks and polished narratives lie truths so dark that governments buried them for decades, controlling what billions of people were allowed to know. Some of humanity's most shocking secrets were kept hidden through classified documents, destroyed evidence, and deliberate silence. Today, declassified files reveal a past that authorities desperately wanted forgotten, exposing experiments on innocent people, covert military operations designed to harm civilians, and cover-ups that fundamentally altered the course of nations. This is the real history hidden in plain sight. The medical experiments nobody talks about between 1932 and 1972, 400 American men were told they were receiving treatment for a serious disease. The truth was far more sinister. The Tuskegee syphilis study deliberately withheld medical care from black men to observe how the illness progressed untreated. Even when penicillin became widely available and could have saved their lives, the government refused to give it to them. These men suffered excruciating pain, spread the disease to their families, and some died while officials took notes. The study remained classified until 1972, when a whistleblower finally exposed it. An official apology did not come until 1997, but for those men, justice arrived far too late. Their families still carry the trauma of this government-sanctioned atrocity. Japan's secret unit of horrors. During World War II, Japan conducted biological weapons research that makes most people's skin crawl. Unit 731, hidden in Manchuria, was a secret facility where scientists performed vivisection on living prisoners without anesthesia. They injected plague into victims' bodies, froze people alive to study hypothermia, and released anthrax in populated villages to test its effectiveness. Thousands died in unimaginable suffering. After the war, the United States government made a shocking deal. In exchange for the research data, the scientists received immunity from prosecution, no trials, no punishment, no public knowledge for decades. Japanese scholars stumbled upon hidden notes in the 1980s, finally revealing the extent of these crimes. The perpetrators lived full lives while their victims' families only learned the truth years later. Mind control experiments in America. The CIA's MK-Ultra program remains one of the darkest chapters in American intelligence history. For 20 years, from 1953 to 1973, the agency conducted illegal experiments using LSD and other mind-controlled drugs on thousands of unwitting civilians and government workers. Scientists wanted to create programmable human beings who could carry out tasks, including assassinations, without retaining memories. Participants were drugged without consent in hospitals, universities, and prisons. One victim died from a lethal dose of LSD, administered without his knowledge. The program only became public in 1974, when investigative journalists exposed the unethical practices. By then, countless lives had been destroyed. Survivors battled psychological damage for the rest of their lives, and many never received adequate compensation for what the government did to them. Radiation victims silenced after atomic bombs. When nuclear weapons destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, the world focused on the immediate devastation. What remained hidden was the long-term horror that followed. Radiation poisoning caused leukemia, genetic mutations, and a lifetime of suffering for survivors. Children were born with severe birth defects, blood cells mutated in ways doctors had never seen. Japanese physicians documented thousands of cases, but the United States military occupation authorities censored these findings. Under Operation Censorship, the government blocked medical reports and survivor testimonies from reaching the public. Even decades later, many survivors were shunned by their own communities because people feared their radiation exposure was contagious. It took until 1972, when the United Nations Peace Conference gave survivors a platform, before the world finally heard their stories. By then, thousands had already died in silence, their suffering deliberately erased from history books. Secret operations against American citizens, the FBI's Untold program, was designed to infiltrate, monitor, and destroy organizations fighting for civil rights and against war. From the 1950s through 1970s, the agency conducted illegal surveillance of Martin Luther King Jr., the Black Panther Party, and anti-Vietnam War activists. Agents used forged letters, planted informants, and spread false information to turn movements against themselves. The FBI even encouraged violence between rival groups, leading to deaths and prison sentences for innocent people. The program was so secretive that even some FBI field agents did not know the full scope of what they were participating in. It was only exposed in 1970, when thieves broke into an FBI office and released stolen documents. The government was never held accountable for violating the constitutional rights of thousands of Americans. Many activists whose lives were destroyed by this program never received official acknowledgement of the wrongdoing. False flag operations and manufactured wars. Operation Northwoods remains one of the most shocking declassified proposals in American history. In 1962, the Department of Defense drafted a plan to stage false flag terrorist attacks on American cities and blame Cuba, using these fabricated incidents as justification for invading the island nation. The plan included suggestions to blow up airliners filled with innocent civilians, sink ships, and orchestrate bombings in Washington, D.C. President Kennedy rejected the proposal, but it remained classified for decades. When the documents finally surfaced in the 1990s, the public learned that high-ranking military officials had seriously considered sacrificing American lives to justify military action. The fact that such a plan was even proposed reveals how far some government agencies were willing to go to achieve their strategic objectives, regardless of the cost in human lives. Radiation testing without consent. Beyond the bombs, the United States government secretly conducted radiation experiments on its own citizens. Throughout the 1940s and 1950s, patients in hospitals, prison inmates, and vulnerable populations were exposed to dangerous levels of radiation without their knowledge or permission. Scientists wanted to study the effects on human bodies. Doctors injected radioactive material into people's veins. Prisoners received whole-body radiation exposure. Some victims developed cancer years later. Others suffered from severe burns. When these experiments were exposed in 1994, a government finally admitted the terrible truth. Compensation was eventually offered, but many victims had already died from radiation-induced illnesses. The government had prioritized scientific curiosity over human life and dignity, and the victims paid the price. Espionage and spying on journalists. President Kennedy, angered by government leaks to the press, authorized a secret CIA operation to monitor and record journalists investigating government activities. Project Mockingbird, launched in 1962, involved wiretapping journalists' phones, infiltrating newsrooms, and intimidating reporters who asked uncomfortable questions. The program went far beyond national security concerns. It was designed to suppress legitimate journalism and silence critics of government policy. Newsrooms did not know they were being monitored. Journalists received threats and had their careers destroyed for pursuing stories that revealed government wrongdoing. Only after the government's illegal surveillance programs were exposed decades later did the public learn the extent of this assault on freedom of the press. The program demonstrated that the government viewed transparency as a threat and would stop at nothing to control the narrative, even if it meant violating the constitutional rights of American citizens. The lasting impact of hidden truths. These secrets represent only a fraction of the historical cover-ups that governments have hidden from their citizens. What ties all of them together is a pattern of placing power and secrecy above human rights and transparency. When the truth finally emerges, decades pass, victims have died, and justice becomes impossible. The world of crime psychology. The declassification of these documents has taught humanity a crucial lesson. Governments will do almost anything to protect their secrets, and transparency must be fought for continuously. Every time a new historical truth surfaces, it reveals how much citizens do not know about the world they live in. The implications are staggering. If these horrors were hidden for decades, what other secrets remain classified today? What future generations will discover that we are not allowed to know right now? History shows that truth always emerges eventually, but the delay means countless lives are destroyed, while those responsible evade accountability. The only way forward is demanding transparency, supporting whistleblowers, and ensuring that no government, organization, or institution can hide atrocities in the name of national security.